Hello loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be breaking down the full moon in Aquarius that is happening tomorrow. We have quite a bit to cover, so we're going to jump in and get started, starting with the planetary positions. So Sun in Leo, Moon in Aquarius, Mercury will be in Leo in retrograde, Venus is in Virgo, Mars will be in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces in retrograde, Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces in retrograde, and Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde. Okay, so we're still very much deep in retrograde season. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of energies going on. And so, okay, let us jump in. First, we're starting off with the sun in an opposition to the moon. As you guys know, Aquarius and Leo are opposite energies. And so when it comes to looking at the balance of this particular full moon, you're going to have to kind of see where in the spectrum you're at, because you might be leaning towards one side or you might be leaning towards another. And I can see that based on the cards that came out, because the cards, we're going to talk about it, but the cards are very leaning towards especially right because we're right almost at the end of Leo season. We're getting close into going into Virgo season. There's a lot going on energetically where it's like there's a recentering of the self that's happening. There's some people that have been so focused on everybody else that right now this full moon is about you. You need to center yourself in. But then there's other people who are still working through and navigating some shadow stuff that's been coming up with, especially with this particular Mercury retrograde. So there's been a lot of like healing. And now that, you know, Mercury went back into Leo while in retrograde, it's really hyper focusing. Okay, when Mercury was in Virgo in retrograde, what were you dealing with versus what are you dealing with now, and how are you recentering yourself now? That is the key. The sun will be in conjunction to Mercury, so there is that alignment, that like that working together of the sun and Mercury both being in Leo right now, to really assist in you feeling like you need to center yourself in whatever it is. Like you might feel like you need some self-care, you might feel like you need some self, love, you might feel like you just need to take some time for you. Like it's like you might need to like pre-Virgo hermit mode and just kind of focus on you for a bit. You might feel like you need, some space for friends, from family. You might literally want to just take a whole full-blown step back, due to just like how the energies are and how you're personally feeling, especially because it's a full moon, it's coming to a closure. So it's like everything at the end, it comes back down to you, your journey, your life, your vision, your purpose, your drive, all of these things that you want to like accomplish. So there's this thing, it's like a recentering. We're recentering back to center, and that starts with you. You might be feeling a little bit creative and feeling a little bit like diving into creative works, whether you're getting lost in a movie, a book, music. You might literally just be like elsewhere mentally, which is perfectly fine if that's what you feel like you need to be, how you need to be spending your time. The sun will be in a square with Uranus, so there's definitely, especially when it comes to our communications with people, be very mindful of, again, we're in Mercury retrograde. Mercury is in Leo retrograding right now. So any type of arguments that come out are really going to bring out people's selfishness, is going to bring out people's, like, let's say somebody's not trying to understand your side on something. You might be having to come to terms with like narcissistic behavior, or any type of like gaslighting and stuff like that. So be very mindful, because certain things might just like get to the tipping point where you just can't take it anymore, and you just kind of snap. Okay, so there might be some arguments, especially because, again, Aquarius is the sign that rules over revolution, evolution, right? So there is a sense of chaos there because of Uranus. And there's also, it's also a sense of, because of Saturn, that restriction is like you can't move forward till you work through what you need to work through. So you also have to keep that in mind. The moon will be in an opposition to Mercury. So there is this kind of like, what I should do versus what I want to do kind of vibe. And again, it is really time to pick yourself and recenter yourself, especially if you're not really sure how to address something. Bring it back to yourself. At this time, you might need to just realign back and kind of get back with yourself first before you kind of address other relationships right now, because you might still feel like you don't have the energy to give others, and that's just like not fair to those people either. Even though that's what they're expecting for you, it's not fair for them to only get like a half-ass version of you. Okay, so also keep that in mind. The moon will be in a trine with Mars. So again, arguments that happen during this time are gonna feel like I said what I said, and I'm just detached about it. Like I said what I said. Again, Aquarius energy is very like blunt. It's very straight to the point. It's no regrets. And again, arguments that start off during this time are gonna come out from a space of like, I said what I said, and I'm just gonna focus on myself right now because this has been stressing me out, and I gotta do this. So you're gonna have to give me some space or whatever. The moon will also be in a trine with Jupiter, so keep in mind that your emotional, any type of emotional turmoil could actively make things more over exaggerated at this time. So also, you know, keep that in mind. If you do decide to like, you know, go in a separate direction, close off relationships, leave a certain situation, you might literally feel like full blown, like if, let's say you stop talking to somebody, you will block them, delete them, block their number, all this stuff. You might literally erase them from your lives. You might feel compelled to, because that's just Aquarius energy. So, you know, if you're really feeling like, you know what, I'm done with this, you're really gonna clean house. Like you might feel very inspired to clean house because of Jupiter there. So keep that in mind. The moon will also be in a square with Uranus. So emotionally, so already the moon is already in a trine with Mars. So already we're like, if there's a battle, we're going in. But then at the same time, squaring the planet of chaos, our emotions squaring off the planet of chaos and unexpected change. Like it might be like the smallest thing or just one thing that happens. You know that song by, I believe it's Amory, that's like that the song is literally called One Thing. Like that's the one thing that had me tripping, and then that's the reason why I had to, I can't. It's literally like that. Like this full moon, that is the song that's coming up. If you've never heard it, please go hear it. It's a really good song. But that's really the way that this is coming up. It's like, it's this one thing that just lit the match, and I'm gonna say what I needed to say. So if you need to unload when it comes to social media, be very mindful of online conversations, especially if you're like aware of like Mercury retrograde and you don't want to, this is a great time to add to the social conversation, but just be mindful to the social conversation. You might just need to reflect on what's being, you know, the conversations that are happening socially. There might be certain creators and stuff, or even like figures, like social figures that come up that you feel compelled to listen to, or you feel inclined to kind of look at their argument in some sort of way. So be mindful, okay, to that, because Mercury is also on a square with Uranus, which means that the communication is being challenged here. And because Uranus, it's connected to society, the collective consciousness, and Mercury is your own collective, like your own consciousness, there is a sense of like what everybody else believes is not what I'm vibing with. We're on two different pages. Like we're on two different pages. There's a lot of social conversation. Mercury retrograde is popping, and it's creating a lot of like turmoil. And because Mercury is in Leo, people's egos are coming up the wazoo. Okay, so if someone's reacting to something, if somebody's like really like trying to be combative, it's literally, it's that saying, a hit dog will holler. It's that. I said what I said. Venus will be in a square with Mars. So relationships right now, this is a great time for some sensual, spiritual workings. Okay, it's a great time for that. It's a great time to do some release in that way, but you might find yourself in some heated arguments, but this could also be a time where, you know, you can easily work through and transmute any tension down there, anything that needs to be released from down there. It's a great time for that. Don't forget that Leo season connects to our pleasure energy, so said what I said. If you need to release some excess energy, you know what you need to do later. Venus will also be in a square with Jupiter. So there is a sense of, if you're feeling like you're not getting enough, or if you're feeling like you're not, it's just like there should be more, or like you're just kind of like being half-assed. That's something that is going to impact a lot of the conversations that you're having with people who mean a lot to you. There's definitely a fear of like what the next couple of months might look like. Be very mindful with like finances. Like, make sure you actively have like your savings, actively have like something to the side where you're able to, you know, function or fall back on. But there is a sense of like needing comfort, needing especially because Venus is also in an opposition to Saturn, so there's a sense of like feeling ungrounded and trying to get back to being grounded, but like not knowing how to get there. So do, you know, slow down, don't rush, and take things like one step at a time, but try to come up with a plan of how you're going to address any type of fear that you're having during this time. Mars will also be in conjunction with Jupiter. So there is a sense of like, I want to put in the work. I do want to put in the work. I do want to address this. Like, these are my concerns. This is what I want to do. So if you want to target any type of like spell work during this particular full moon, I would kind of rearrange it for like looking at next 6 months and how you're going to navigate your grounding specifically. Keep in mind that we're still in retrograde season, and September is really the only window of like a breath of fresh air before Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, and then it's really going to feel like Mercury retrograde for like four months. So yeah. Mercury in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, it's already in a very sensitive position because Jupiter doesn't like being in Gemini, is in its fall. And so it tends to already have a little bit of a harder time expressing itself in Gemini. However, but then it's like when it goes into retrograde, it's really going to amplify like the mercurial like energies of going, like Mercury going retrograde. It's going to mirror, there's going to be some miscommunications, for example. But and on the other side, on the flip side, there could be a lot of messages coming through. You might be channeling a lot more to at this time. You might be resolving a lot of issues. You might get clarity in a lot of things from the past. Like, it could be a really great thing. And I'm not saying it's going to be all bad. I'm just saying it is also going to mimic Mercury. It's going to feel like Mercury retrograde a little bit. So you do have to be mindful of that within the next upcoming months. Mars will also be in a square with Saturn. So it's like you need to reevaluate your grounding, because it's like what you want and where you're at, and the road and path to getting there. Somewhere down the road it's gotten a little muddy, and you might need to reevaluate and make sure that you're still on task and on path to getting there. The way that you are very passionate about realigning and getting back on track is really important, but you also need to understand that any restriction you might be feeling, it's because of the transits. Jupiter will also be in a square with Saturn, which makes it a little difficult to tap into the abundance, luck, and prosperity energy from Jupiter, because as you guys know, when Jupiter is in a square with Saturn basically says the only way you're accessing this abundance is if you do the work. So do the work. And lastly, Uranus is in a trine with Pluto. So expect the collective consciousness. There's still a lot going on. I know this is like an election year. Everything's like a little bit chaotic. So I know there's a lot going on. But keep an eye out, keep an ear out for the collective conversation, because it's going to impact also how you're feeling. Is also going to impact your conversations with those close to you and those whom you love. Now for the cards, you guys are going to be like, the cards look amazing. They do. So we have the 6 of Cups, the Strength card, lots of yellow. Okay, lots of yellow. The 9 of Pentacles, the 9 of Cups, the 8 of Wands, and the Queen of Cups. And again, this really goes back to that moon energy, how you're feeling, how quickly things escalate from one to the other, because this is the key. This is the key. How quickly things escalate from one to the other. Okay. There is a sense, again, of reevaluating, like your comfort, your groundingness, your pleasure, how you're feeling about things, expressing yourself, having the strength and confidence to really stand up for like how you're feeling, like saying what you mean, being clear, and trying to really get back to kind of where you were. Especially for those who are in relationships, you might be feeling out of place within your relationships and like needing to get it back to like center. And so right now there's a sense of like, I want my emotions in check, and I want to feel grounded. And it could be an area of your life where you're like, I need to reevaluate and I need to refocus this because it's not how I've been feeling. And so it really quickly makes you hyper focus on your emotions in order for you to nurture both of these things. Okay, you want to tap into your abundance energy, you have to do the work. Don't talk to me, talk to Saturn. Now from Archangel Michael, prayer will help the situation. Here is the prayer. Hold on. Here, wait, I'm trying to make it focus so it focuses. Give it a second. 1 second. It's not focusing. Okay, I think if you take a screenshot, you'll be able to flip it. But it says prayer will help the situation, and the prayer goes, dear God and Archangel Michael, parentheses, and anyone else whom you pray to. I ask for your divine intervention, parentheses, describe the situation. I welcome your help, and I trust and follow your guidance with gratitude and grace. I need a miracle and ask that you send one to me in the situation quickly. Thank you and amen. So that's this one. Then it says it's time to leave in a healthy situation because some of you have been stuck on some things. And again, the retrogrades are working to like really like shake that up and shift that. So you have to really just like, don't take it as a, oh my God, everything's happening, blah, 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 like, take it as, okay, you know what is it highlighting? Let me address it. Let's talk about it. Okay. A favorable outcome. Okay. Right there. And let go of fear now, because some of you are afraid of the aftermath of what comes after all of this. And the reality is that you shouldn't be afraid of the changes that are coming, because some things are going to be absolutely necessary, and the other things are just like, if they're meant to leave now, you're just going to have to accept it. We are also getting shadow self. Okay. Choice. Okay. And love. Okay, because that's one of the focuses right now. Again, like Leo season, all about that pleasure. Make sure you're practicing self-care. Make sure your relationship with yourself is in a good place too, because if it's not, then you know that's work that you need to do. But yeah, that was the reading, my loves. I hope that you guys got all the messages that you guys needed. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Definitely make sure you check out my second channel down below. It's called The Sirens Library. We talk about pretty much everything else I want to talk about. I've been posting there and here like more consistently, so you guys are getting videos on both channels. So definitely make sure you go subscribe. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.